Okay everybody, good morning and welcome to Dave's Old Photography School. Thank you for all joining me on the new channel. Hopefully it will be, I will be able to keep both channels going. The other channel is so very weather reliant, fixing cars and being a jackaroo specialist with a Huey engine. Okay, so is photo editing cheating or is it not? You will hear many people say photo editing is cheating and get it right in camera when the former is incorrect. The latter is correct. Everyone needs to have all images right in camera. Editing your photos is not cheating, and here is why. The simple fact that mainly raw images need some basic post-production work using some form of photo editor. The incorrect straight out of camera brigade will have you believe that you must shoot in JPEG, get it right in camera and leave it untouched. Well, that to me smacks of not knowing what JPEGs are actually designed for. Well, I'm going to show you just how misguided that belief is based on the fact and not hearsay. I'm not against JPEG shooters. You pick the format and you shoot with it. No, it is the editing is cheating brigade that are wrong. I'm not angry. I do want the truth to surface. Getting it right in camera is critically important. There is no denying that fact. You cannot turn a bad photo into something outstanding using editing. Hugely important to get it right in camera. Essentially, photography is about the light. Even though all photographs have to go through the editing stage, getting it right in camera is just the first step. The truth of the matter is that if you shoot JPEG only, then your camera does the photoshopping for you. So your JPEG has been edited already, except it wasn't by you. Be under no illusions that your JPEG is pure and untouched. It has been run through a built-in photo editor inside your camera, and some are better than others at this process. This is an automated computer program that is more often than not gives you more unnatural results than a manually edited photo will. The built-in photo editor has done the editing for you regardless of whether you want it or not. If you do not, shoot RAW. If yes, shoot JPEG. It's as simple as that. The statement, "I'll fix this later," is what you'll hear from beginners and people walking around with their flash sticking up. It never works right, especially when JPEGs have too much editing done to them before they start falling apart. Try shooting RAW. Try shooting RAW, and then if you do not wish to edit, then don't. Simple as that. But by not editing, you will soon become fed up and give up when people are laughing at your flat, lifeless, unsharp images. This is solely because your images require basic editing. This is the point in getting images right in camera. I was once told by a Photoshop instructor, you can sharpen sharp images, but you cannot sharpen unsharp images. This is what is meant by getting it right in camera. To sum up, you can shoot the best pictures ever, but they'll never be the best without some basic editing. So why would anyone consider editing photographs to be cheating? Part 1. What is a digital photo? A digital photo is created when light reaches the camera sensor and the sensor converts the light into an image. We start with some form of editing, just creating a photo. We've edited the light and changed it to an image. So what is a JPEG? A JPEG is just an image format. A photo taken in a JPEG format, though has been edited by the camera, the editing cannot be undone. That is every JPEG, I mean every JPEG. This includes editing the content of the photo, also compressing a file. This cannot be undone, it is impossible to reverse. You can even select the style of a JPEG your camera creates. This is a conscious editing of a photo which is accepted by everyone over the planet. But it does not make it right, there is another way. Part 2. RAW. RAW is another image format. If you look at an unedited RAW file, it is flat, dull and uninteresting, so a RAW image needs editing. This is intentional, as the camera records the maximum data for the scene for editing later. We know and we accept this with no problem. Well, many of us do. RAW photos look so bad that the image you are looking at on your camera is actually a JPEG preview. You can test this theory, set your camera to RAW and then set JPEG to black and white. The image will display on your camera as black and white, but as soon as you load it to your computer, it'll be back to colour, because you're looking at the JPEG on the back of your camera. I have judged out-of-camera competitions in the past where editing is not allowed at all. Therefore, RAW shooters will lose out to JPEG shooters. However, we must look at this and why this is the only time they will lose out to JPEG. Editing of images has been going on since photography began. Here's an example. On April the 15th, 1865, Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, was assassinated by a supporter of the defeated Southern Confederacy. The nation, shocked at his sudden death, was desperate for a memento. Photographers struggled to fulfill demand, but there was no suitable heroic images Artists were forced to create their own images, but one of the most famous images of Lincoln was created by Thomas Hicks, and it used the head of Matthew Brady's portrait. The one on the American $5 bill, and posted it on body of John C. Calhoun, where Hicks positioned the head on Calhoun's body and reversed the head. However, he reversed the head and also reversed Lincoln's famous mole. It was through the mole being placed on the wrong side of the face that its alteration was noticed. Ironically, Calhoun was the 7th Vice President of the United States, led the pro-slavery faction. When he was in office, Lincoln would become famous for freeing the slaves. So, photo editing has been going on since 1865, and the conspiracy theorists of the photography world is the ones that we have to deal with here. Just ignore them is what I say. I also heard that Lincoln was a scrawny little person and he embarrassed the USA. So the photo had to be on a much better looking body, which is why they chose John Calhoun. And there you go, there's the evidence. There's the Lincoln portrait on the left and there is the Calhoun portrait on the right. And look at the differences. There aren't many. His fingers are the same, the hands are the same, the arms the same, the background's slightly different, but that doesn't matter. Everything is identical, including the flag, including the feather in the inkwell on the desk. So clearly this is a fake photograph of Lincoln, because it's John C. Calhoun on the right. It's the photograph that his head was placed onto. Easy job in this case, but he was a scrawny man, so that's why they did it. So what are my thoughts on this subject? Question: is the editing of digital images wrong? And the answer is as simple as maybe. The difficult answer is no, it is not, and here is why. The fact, if you shoot in RAW, you must carry out some basic editing. If you shoot in JPEG, then the image basic editing is carried out by the camera, regardless of whether you want it or not. To work out why we have two formats, we first need to look at them both. RAW format is basically everything that's captured onto your sensor and copied to a file with the absence of any editing whatsoever. JPEG format is not ideal for several reasons. It uses a lossless compression format. It was designed originally to be used to transfer images at slower speeds we have now. The days of 300 baud, and I can remember these days, 300 baud modems took us 20 or 40 minutes to download a 75 kilobyte image. If you try to make a JPEG too big, it will fall apart due to its lossless compression, and I'll explain this in a minute. JPEGs, which stands for Joint Photographic Experts Group, was developed in the late 1880s and officially published in 1992. It was created to provide a standard method of compressing digital images, allowing for smaller sizes while maintaining acceptable quality images, which significantly contributed to the proliferation of the digital photography on images and the internet. The key words in this previous paragraph are of acceptable quality. Acceptable quality. Get that into your head. The JPEG was never designed to be on a camera, however the camera will shoot JPEG and RAW images and displayed on the small LCD using JPEG images because the RAW was edited to view. So we're back to this question again, but this is the other half of the question. Now, here we go. What JPEG does, it looks at all the pixels on an image. It says, aha, here is 9 pixels or 15 pixels or whatever of a similar colour. Similar shades of a colour, which happens a lot in photography, especially digital photography. It then looks at those pixels and says, I know, I'll just change them all to 1 pixel colour. So it takes them all in to 1 pixel, it may be red, it may be green, it may be blue. When it puts them back again, it changes them to 1 colour. So the 15 or the 24 or whatever number of pixels there are gets transformed down to 1 colour and put back in that 1 colour. The proper compression works like it'll take all the pixels in and put them all back again, whereas JPEG doesn't do that. To make the file smaller, it takes all the pixels, separate pixels, makes them into 1 colour and puts them all back again. This is why they come blocky and chunky and everything. That is why JPEG is not suitable. The simple answer is maybe, if taking out a camera image that the competition rules say you cannot edit, then personally I would shoot JPEG, because if I do, the camera will edit the images for me. That said, I always shoot RAW, but the image on the back of the camera doesn't look like a RAW image. Well, there's a reason for that. All images, including RAW images, are displayed on an LCD as JPEGs, so they have been enhanced. This is reality shooting RAW. You only see the RAW image in all its flat, colourless, unshaped state when it's on your editing device and not anywhere else. Certainly not on the back of your camera. However, I'm only interested in sharpness at the moment because I need to have an animal's eyes sharp, usually birds during the daytime. But I'll shoot any animal, and if its eyes aren't sharp, it's not worth it. I'll just delete it. It's as simple as that. To sum up, if you shoot RAW, always edit your images regardless because they will be uncoloured, etc. If you don't, then you may use your phone camera, which will look great until you make them bigger on your screen to edit them. You might as well. Why waste money on an expensive camera if you're going to shoot in JPEG? For clubs, this page is now for clubs. Never hold an out-of camera competition. Why not, I hear you ask? Well, how long can you encourage your members to shoot in RAW and then penalise them in favour of the JPEG people? It does not matter what conditions or rules are set, you must allow basic editing of RAW images. Basically, I never shoot JPEG. And if I did, why bother? With big cameras, therefore, I would always argue that entering an out-of-camera competition is going against all teaching to members. Call it basic editing competition and allow your members to shoot in RAW, not JPEG. The reason why is simple. JPEG shooters are cheating in such cases by not shooting pictures by choosing to shoot JPEG. They're not shooting RAW pictures by choosing to shoot JPEG. And the camera's built-in systems will edit the JPEG, some better than others. So it becomes a who's got the best camera competition. Yes, the members can argue that this is still out of the camera, but it is edited. To be fair to judges, and do not put them in a position where you discount most of the club's images because the member could not control the editing process. But the rules state no editing, and JPEGs are edited. The rules state no editing, but it does not define by whom. So thank you very much for joining me, and please like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video, which is very soon. It's going to be Law and the Photographer, and there'll be some surprises in there.